Hey Algebra 2s, I'm sorry for the delay. I'm actually away, so I'm going to try to put this up for you now, okay? Day 8, factoring completely. This is what you need to do to factor any polynomials completely. The first thing you do is GCF. You always check this, no matter whether there's a binomial, trinomial, or polynomial of many monomials, okay? So always try that. Then, if it's a binomial, having two terms, it's a binomial, you can either do difference of two squares, which means if it's a perfect square minus a perfect square, you will get conjugate pairs. Remember conjugate pairs? Okay. So the difference means it's got to be a subtraction. If it's a binomial and it has cubes, okay, like numbers like 8, 27, 64, 125, those are all cubes, okay, like 5 times 5 times 5, 125. And then the exponents just need to be divisible by 3, okay? And these can be a sum or a difference. We talked about this the other day. If you do a difference, you take the cube root of the first, the cube root of the second, keep the sign, and then for the trinomial, you then square this, and then take the last, square it, and then you take the product, a times negative b, and take the opposite sign. Okay, that's that pattern we did in class. Okay, so one thing to remember with both of these is if it is a square root, then you take half of the exponent or half of the number of decimals, okay? If it's a cube root, you take a third of the exponent or number of decimals. And don't forget, you can put those in your calculator. Okay, you look for the little n square root sign, and when you enter it, you'll get the little box and the little box, and that's what you fill in. Okay, so if you're trying to find the square root of 27, the cube root, you put a 3 here and a 27 there. Okay. Then we get to trinomials. A trinomial has 3 terms. If a is equal to 1, then it's one step. You can go immediately to 2 sets of parentheses, and you find what adds to b and what multiplies to c. Okay? That's if a is 1. If a is greater than 1, then you're going to find what adds to b, but what multiplies to a times c, okay? And what you'll need to do is split that middle term into 2, okay? So this one would split into 2 terms, and you'd wind up with 4 terms, okay? And then you would follow by factor by grouping, okay? So go back to your notes if you need help with those. If it has 4 terms, your only choice is factor by grouping. And every once in a while it may not work, and you're going to have to rearrange some of those, okay? All right, so once you're done, you always keep factoring until you can't factor anymore. So sometimes I'll factor once, sometimes a factor will factor again, sometimes both factors keep factoring, and sometimes it'll just factor even a third time, a fourth time. It depends, okay? So the first thing we look at is there is a GCF of 12 here. Okay, so 12 comes out, and you're left with x squared minus 4y squared. And now if you recognize this, that is dots, okay? So the 12 comes down. Sorry, this is really sloppy. And then this is dots, so it's x plus 2y, and it's x minus 2y. Okay? Now, none of those last terms can factor again, so you are completed. Okay, you are done. All right, number 2, if you notice, number 2 kind of already looks like the second to last step of AC. You're seeing 2 binomial terms that are common. So if you're seeing 2 binomial comms, that parentheses that are common, take it out. X squared minus 4. If you take that x squared minus 4 out, your other factor is x plus 2 from here. Now, this is dots, so dots goes to conjugate pairs. You have an x plus 2, an x minus 2, and don't forget the x plus 2 that you had originally. So all 3 factors are your factors for this problem, okay? And you can check these by putting that in the calculator and then putting your answer in the calculator as well. Now, this can be rewritten as x minus 2 and x plus 2 quantity squared since we had 2 of them. Okay? All right, number 3. Look for a GCF first. I'm sorry. I am away and my throat is really hurting, so I don't have much of a voice. So A comes out and R to the 5th, R to the 5th. Those are both GCFs. That's going to leave me with a 1, right? This is the exact same thing I'm pulling out. So I need to take a 1 to hold its place, bring in the 1, and then an A from A to the 5th is A to the 4th, and the R to the 5th is gone. But now this is dots. So I bring down A, R to the 5th. Dots is going to be a 1 plus A to the 2nd, and a 1 minus A to the 2nd. And you think you're done, but you're not, because that is dots again. This is what I meant by sometimes it goes on a few times. This is not dots because this is not a difference. So this just comes down 1 plus A squared, and then this dots goes to 1 plus A, 1 minus A. Okay, so all 4 factors are equivalent to this one. This is one that you have to check by substitution. Okay, like plug A equal to 3 and R equal to 4, or whatever numbers you want to choose. Okay, substitute them into this, get the numerical value on the calculator, and do the same thing for this. It's a lot of typing, so just be careful. Okay, but you should practice doing it so that you can do it on a quiz, test, or the Regents. Okay, all right, last one. Look first to see if there's a GCF to everything. A 2 goes into everything, so does an x. So I'm going to pull out a 2x. If I take a 2x out, I get x cubed minus 2x squared minus 9x plus 18. And now we do our factor by grouping. Underline the first 2 terms and the last 2 terms, but make sure you put the minus into a circle, okay? So I'm going to leave this out here for a moment. What's common to the first 2 is x squared. That leaves me with x minus 2. Bring down the minus. What's common to these 2 is 9. Okay, it's really a negative 9 now. So negative 9 from negative 9x is x. And 18 divided by a negative 9 is negative 2. That's how that negative comes about. These are both common. I pull it out. Leaves me with x squared minus 9. And don't forget the 2x that you did as a GCF in the beginning. Okay? But that is dots. So you have one more step. 2x, x minus 2, x plus 3, and x plus 3. X minus 3 and x plus 3. Okay? You could have had the minus 3 second, first, the order doesn't matter. Okay? So that's the end. Make sure that you check in the calculator. The only issue with checking in a calculator is if you plug this in and you plug this in, They are equivalent, but this one is not completely factored and you will lose points. So this is something that you really have to make sure that you're looking with your own eyes after the fact to see, is everything definitely factored? Okay? That's, something you really need to check on your own. So, okay? So I hope that explains enough. I have 2 more there, but we can work on those in class as a do now on Monday. So, and then the rest of these we will work on in class just as practice. And that ends the unit. So the test is coming up. I do have a review sheet for you that we will do in class, finish for homework, and then we'll check that, and then we'll take our test. Okay? So have a nice rest of the day, rest of the weekend, and I will see you Monday. Bye.